Hello and welcome to this AIM North America webinar on the UDI market. AIM North America is an alliance enabling the cooperation, development, and standardization of AIDC technologies from barcodes to RFID to IoT. AIM North America is your advocate. Any organization with an interest in data collection is a beneficiary of these efforts. Membership provides an opportunity to influence the direction of the industry, develop policies and standards, access market reports, and engage new partners. Before Felix gets started, there are a few housekeeping items I will go over. As you may have noted, you are muted throughout the presentation. If you have any questions for our presenter, you can send those to AIM Member Services via the chat option. Questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. Also, a recording will be available in the coming days. As a registrant, you will be notified when it is available. Next, we have our antitrust policy. It is the policy of AIM Inc. to conduct its operations in strict compliance with the antitrust laws. No AIM activity shall create even the appearance of a violation of the letter or spirit of the antitrust laws. And on the next slide, we have our collaboration and work product policy, which just states that AIM committee meetings and presentation are held for the primary purpose of advancements in our industry, which necessarily involves development of work product intended solely for the public domain. AIM's developed this policy for the protection of its members who engage in this important collaborative effort. Today, I'm here with Felix Klebe, the marketing manager for sensors and advanced sensing products at OMRON Automation. Felix will be speaking about barcode versus RFID technology for medical device manufacturing and distribution. Felix, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for participation in this AIM webinar, and thanks to AIM for the opportunity to present. My name is Felix Klebe. As Michael mentioned, I'm a marketing manager for sensors and advanced sensing at OMRON Automation. OMRON is a $6.5 billion global manufacturer of a broad variety of industrial electronics and solutions with about 28,000 employees in 110 countries. OMRON was founded in 1933. Our global headquarters are in Kyoto, Japan. Industrial automation is OMRON's largest business segment, within which the sensors and advanced sensing businesses include sensors such as photoelectric sensors, proximity sensors, fiber optic sensors, precision measurement, as well as sensors and solution for camera-based product inspection, barcode readers, RFID systems, and laser markers. I'm based out of our Renton, Washington factory, where OMRON builds barcode readers, barcode verifiers, and smart cameras. The industries which we'll talk about today and in our industrial automation products area include marketing to industries such as life sciences, food and commodity, automotive, electronics manufacturing, and transport and logistics. Shown here on the left, upper left portion of the slide is actually an OMRON medical product, a nebulizer. So OMRON is also in the business of building some medical devices. Okay, let's take a look at our agenda today. As we mentioned, we'll be focusing on auto ID technologies, specifically barcodes and RFID for medical device manufacturing, distribution, and use. We'll start with a short overview of the pros and cons in a general sense of barcode technology compared with RFID. Next, we'll look at how barcodes are most often used when labeling, direct part marking, and packaging medical devices, including some of the requirements driven by the FDA UDI mandate. And then finally, we'll look at some of the examples of how RFID is used in both medical device manufacturing or tracking and some advantages of RFID within the factory as part of the manufacturing process. And at the end, we'll share some thoughts on how traceability within manufacturing will continue to evolve in the future. The decision on whether to use barcodes or RFID for industrial applications is based on the environment, as well as what the purpose of the data being read is. The reader costs for an industrial grade fixed mount barcode reader compared with an RFID reader are relatively close, depending upon the technology. However, if a high volume of parts are being individually marked, then the lower cost of a printed label compared with a RFID tag can make barcoding solution more financially attractive. However, as many of you know, due to visual obstructions or other environmental factors, it may not be possible to use barcode reading technology in the factory. While most printed labels cost pennies or less, and an RFID tag used in a typical industrial application may cost $1 or more. This means that RFID is more often used in applications in manufacturing where the tag can be reused, such as a tote or reusable container. Other comparisons in terms of pros and cons we can talk about as we get into a few of the applications. So as a summary, when considering whether to use RFID instead of barcodes, if several more of the requirements listed on this slide are important, then using RFID to track goods could be a good fit. It is important to note that there are many applications where barcodes are used in combination with RFID as part of an overall traceability solution. We will later in this presentation show a few examples of how barcodes are used together with RFID tags. In RFID applications that OMRON gets involved with, we often see RFID used for work-in-process applications within the walls of the factory, with the final product packaging and product label often using barcoding. The chart on this page gives you a visual representation of the physical size of a 2D data matrix barcode that encodes different amounts of data. For example, to encode 214 alphanumeric characters of data with a data matrix symbol requires an 11mm by 11mm size symbol that has a 10mm module size, which is a pretty common module size used in barcodes on packaging. For very small electronic components, we are seeing data matrix module sizes, which we also call the X dimension, down to 2 mils or 2/1000ths of an inch or even smaller, requiring high-resolution smart cameras with advanced decoding algorithms. By comparison, RFID tags come in a range of sizes, with 1 to 2 kilobyte tags being commonly used in many industrial applications, which is comparable to the maximum data capacity of a data matrix symbol. However, some tags store quite a bit more data than that, and some very small tags have lower data capacity. Data matrix can encode up to 2335 alphanumeric characters or 3,116 numerics. Let's look at this comparison of barcode usage in medical device manufacturing and different types of applications. This slide gives you some common examples of where barcodes are used within medical device manufacturing and in the supply chain. Depending on the process step, barcodes may be used for inbound materials, used in the assembly of a medical device, to track the flow of materials and finished goods within the factory as part of a production process itself, to help automate and error-proof assembly tasks, and ultimately to facilitate automatic identification of the finished good for trading partners and eventually the end users of the medical device. Let's look at medical device labeling in a little bit more detail. On this slide, we can see the causes of recalls over the last several years, and it's apparent that labeling, being either incorrect, illegible, or missing certain information, is one of the leading causes of medical device recalls. Therefore, it's in everyone's best interest to properly design and control the production quality of medical device labeling. Over the next few slides, we'll cover some ideas on how to avoid mislabeling of medical devices. Shown on this slide is an example of a medical device packaging label. We've blacked out or blued out some of the specific information of the label's manufacturer, but the first thing that strikes you when you look at this label is the sheer amount of information which is shown on the label. The customer who uses this label asked OMRON to help with an automated way to inspect the various information shown in the different color boxes. The green boxes, or green bordered areas, represent dynamic data that can change on each label of a printing run, where OCR, or optical character recognition, and OCV, or optical character verification inspection tools, common vision inspection tools, are used to confirm that the information is legible and accurate. The data in the red boxes represents data that is unique to a specific model, such as the dimensions of the product model number, and terms related to medical device labeling, such as G10 and GLN, used when GS1 is the UDI issuing agency. We'll talk more about that in the next few slides. Areas in purple, some of which were hidden due to confidentiality reasons, include company logos or symbols where a blemish detection tool looks for any significant deviation from a golden standard or the golden image. Boxed in a yellow border are barcodes which we grade to an ISO standard to check for compliance with minimum barcode quality scores. Finally, in blue is additional static label data where OCR tools can be again used to check for data accuracy. In summary, medical device labels can be complicated, and to properly confirm their accuracy and quality requires a powerful and flexible label inspection system, particularly in a high mix production environment. On this next slide are some additional example labels where you can again see many different barcodes and other information which require grading to confirm the barcode quality. Doing this type of a quality check on 100% of barcodes on every label can be very time intensive when using a manual barcode verifier, so a more automated method is desired. With the UDI mandate having now been in place for over 7 years, there's been much information written and presented on how to comply with the UDI mandate. We won't go into detail on the UDI mandate today, but it is helpful to recap some of the terminology which is used. You can see on the right side of this slide information from GS1 where they explain the correlation between the UDI terminology that FDA has published, such as DI or device identifier, and the G10, which is the terminology that GS1 uses to explain a unique product identification number that is assigned by GS1 as part of their role as a FDA authorized issuing agency. Further detail on what is encoded in the product barcode and in human readable text is identified as a specific AI or application identifier. Examples include expiration date, lot number, serial date as shown here. The combination of the DI or the device identifier or static information together with the production identifier, the PI, which is dynamic information, helps the medical device user know the exact information about the specific medical device which they have at hand, which can be crucial in the event of a device recall. The regulations of what goes onto a medical device label and how to mark it using auto ID is defined in the 21 CFR 801. It's important to note that the FDA does not state that barcode technology must be used instead of RFID. For medical devices, the DI is required, while flexibility is given by the FDA on which information should be included in the PI portion of the marking. The example extract from FDA guidance shown here from 2016 mentions that for a Class 1 device, typically the DI is used, while for other classes of devices, if PI information is printed in the human readable form, it must also be encoded into the barcoded UDI. The FDA guidance also suggests that if a barcode is used, it should be checked against the relevant barcode quality specification, such as ISO 15415 for 2D type barcode symbols. Let's switch over to the use of RFID in medical device applications. Here we can think back on the strengths of RFID as to why it may be used in these types of applications. The first example is an automated access to high-value medical supplies stored in a hospital and tracking who and when the tagged medical device was removed from an inventory location. Shown on this slide is an example of marketing literature that explains the benefits of using RFID to track our inventory, particularly of those higher value medical devices or other inventory found in a hospital. In this case, accuracy and security are the two value propositions that RFID help deliver in this type of an application. The use of RFID in this example takes advantage of several capabilities to manage and monitor medical devices by requiring a user to have an RFID-enabled badge, which is used to unlock the cabinet, stamp who and at what time that cabinet was accessed, track which tagged asset was either removed or returned to the cabinet, and help monitor the overall inventory status by reporting inventory movement to an inventory management software. Issues such as unauthorized access, misplaced assets, and inventory shortages can be avoided. Further, if the tagged item contains information such as expiration dates and lot numbers, soon to be out-of-date inventory or recalled product can quickly be identified and managed. If a temperature sensor is added to the tag, then individual temperatures can also be tracked while within range of the RFID antenna, and any over maximum specification temperature events reported. Two vendors of this type of a RFID-enabled cabinet are shown here, with each having partnerships to software providers specializing in asset management, often at the cloud level. Beyond tracking individual items within storage cabinets, real-time location services using RFID tagged items and visualization of those items via mobile device or PC can help minimize time wasted looking for medical equipment. Similar to the storage cabinet example, tagged devices which are recalled or required scheduled maintenance services can quickly be located and their status updated by writing information to the tag once service has been performed on that device. Here's an example of using an embedded RFID tag within a medical device that can be as small as a grain of sand, yet withstand numerous autoclave sterilization cycles. This can also be considered a type of covert tagging, helping confirm whether a medical device is authentic, and other critical information such as the original date of manufacture, serial number, and other information which can be encrypted and locked onto that tag. Simple product labels are more easily maliciously altered or copied unless an anti-counterfeiting technology as part of the barcode or as part of the product label is used. There are anti-counterfeiting vision-based coding technologies which are available. However, they can often add considerable cost to the overall labeling expense. While not directly related to medical devices, shown here is an example of a combined RFID and barcode reading solution in a high-volume logistics environment where the barcode on the outer package is used to identify what the expected RFID tag content within the carton for hundreds of items is. At very high conveyor speeds, the system is able to quickly retrieve the expected content of the items in the box and confirm that all of the individual items are tagged as expected. The system shown here is mobile, meaning that it can easily be installed and then reallocated to another conveyor line as inspection needs change. This could be extended into medical device applications where bulk packed RFID tagged products are received by a wholesaler or other trading partner. Let's look at the ways that RFID technology is commonly used in manufacturing of a product. Shown on this slide are several use cases of how RFID is used within manufacturing process for traceability, process optimization, and quality control. For example, in a multi-step production process, information such as whether a test step has been performed and passed is written to the tag, which is then checked prior to a subsequent step in the manufacturing process being performed. RFID can also be used as part of an operator's access rights to perform a specific operation and to log and track who and when performed that operation. Data read from the RFID tag can identify the correct tool needed for an automated production cell process. The tag tool can also log service life of the tool and its maintenance needs. RFID's ability to reliably function in non-line of sight or in harsh environments, as we mentioned earlier, is often a determining factor when selecting to use RFID in this type of application. Many other examples of tracking inventory within the walls of the factory via using RFID-enabled portals, which quickly read tagged items, hundreds of items moving through a plant, can be found throughout industry. Thinking about the flow of traceability information and how the data must be interpreted, communicated, and visualized, and finally archived is important. On this slide are examples of how traceability information is used in various production settings. Often there is information coming from a broad variety of different devices that must be aggregated into a common database or production historian. Each of the products contributing to the traceability system cannot be an island of information. Laser markers, printers, barcode readers, RFID, reader writers, verifiers, vision systems, PLC, robots, and more must be able to share important information with other parts of the production system. This begins with the process of communicating from an MES or ERP system information that is to be embedded in the mark to the software used to generate the barcode or write to an RFID tag. This is the first step in the genealogy of the mark and subsequently may be read and communicated multiple times throughout the life of that barcode or tag. The barcode reader or RFID controller would commonly communicate the contents of the barcode or tag to a PLC via serial or industrial Ethernet-based protocol. Information in the barcode string, such as product ID, may guide other equipment in the manufacturing process to act upon the product carrying the barcode. Pairing of components, process steps, and packaging materials may all be driven by the information coming from that barcode or RFID tag. Further process data, such as test results in the case of an RFID tag, may be written to the tag that stays with the product throughout the production process, and eventually tied into a production history database together with the serial number of the final assembly. Further logic can be applied to prevent a production step from occurring prior to a necessary previous step being completed by reading the barcode or RFID unique identifier for a given part and inspecting its production history prior to performing that next step in the process. To measure takt time or time for a specific step in the process, the timestamp associated with the barcode or RFID read can be communicated and stored in a production database, allowing for OEE or overall equipment effectiveness analysis. Finally, even images of defective parts can be communicated and stored in a quality database for review and further action. Let's take a look at some of the auto identification, marking, and barcode verification technologies available to help companies with traceability and ensure that they're complying with barcode quality and label content standards. Shown on this slide are a variety of OMRON products used for these tasks. These include barcode readers, RFID reader writers, smart cameras, machine vision cameras, laser markers and verifiers. Offline verifiers are a device that requires an operator to manually test an individual label or direct part mark. Two versions of an offline verifier shown here are a desktop style version, which can be located near a production point of the printed labels or at a centrally located test station where labels from multiple printers are brought for testing. A more mobile handheld type verifier is also shown here that can easily be moved together with a tablet or laptop running a Windows-based software to individual label production points. Offline verifiers are most commonly used at the initial label design and conformance check, then later as a random inspection tool, sampling labels at the beginning of a production run and at a user-defined interval throughout the label production. The definition of an inline verifier is a more automated system where each label is inspected as it's being printed or after a part or final assembly has been marked before the final inspection process. Shown in this slide are three examples of inline verification solutions, one being a line scan based camera integrated into a Zebra desktop thermal printer, a second being a smart camera with special lighting designed for ISO verification, plus software for inspection of the barcodes on those labels, applied either to the part via label or direct part mark. And the third is an economical smart camera with grading software for process control checks, which can look for drift of barcode quality and alert operators if the quality score falls below a predefined threshold. More and more of our customers in many industries have been expanding their traceability implementation beyond just capturing part ID to also include and leverage additional 4M or material, method, machine, and man data for continuous process improvement. This also reflects the broader Industry 4.0 and big data trends that we have been seeing globally. For that reason, at OMRON, we have coined the term Traceability 4.0 to reflect this latest stage of evolution of AIDC systems and applications. So following the initial introduction of the 1D barcode in retail and warehouse applications in the 70s and 80s, the advent of 2D data matrix codes directly marked on parts in the mid to late 1990s has allowed closing the traceability hole in the manufacturing production floor. As both barcode marking and production reading technologies improve, the ability to mark a broad variety of surfaces with ever decreasing code sizes and read those marks at faster speeds. In addition to storing more information on 2D marks compared to 1D marks, has enabled traceability down to the component level across a broad variety of industries and applications. Over the past 20 years, such as unit traceability or traceability 3.0 applications have become prevalent across all industries from aerospace to automotive electronics, medical devices. Gradually, however, some of the more enlightened users have started combining part IDs with process and quality data obtained using cameras and other sensors to optimize production processes themselves. At OMRON, we consider the road to traceability excellence a continuous improvement initiative where manufacturers can add onto a core traceability solution as their needs and the customer's requirements evolve. So what are some impacts of COVID-19 on the need to enhance the use of auto ID technologies within a manufacturing operation? A recent study from McKinsey & Company shows several areas where either the use of auto ID technology or other ways to help keep workers safe via social distancing and ensuring the proper use of PPE, plus enabling remote management, such as remote servicing of equipment, can help keep plants from shutting down due to worker infection while improving overall production efficiency. COVID-19 in some cases has tipped the scale on an investment which moves a manufacturer toward a manufacturing 4.0 capability. Auto identification plays an important role in many of the manufacturing 4.0 type solutions. So shown on this slide, we have some additional resources. I've referred to many of these throughout the presentation. RAIN RFID has some nice examples of use cases in the healthcare market, while the GS1 has quite a bit of detail. Those documents that are listed here give someone who's looking to comply with the UDI mandate and get into more of the specifics of topics such as barcode verification, give you a lot of detail that you can go through here. And finally, at OMRON Automation Americas, we do have a couple of links listed here, which go into detail on some of the solutions as well as the products that we covered over the last 25 minutes or so. And I would invite you to take part in the PAC Expo Connect show in early November. OMRON will be exhibiting virtually at that show, and you can learn about some of our newest technologies in machine vision, barcode inspection at that show there. So I think with that, we've come to the end of our presentation, and we will open it up for any questions.
Yes, Felix, thank you for your information here today. Really appreciate it. And yeah, if you're ready, Felix, we can take some questions now.
Sure.
And with that, you can chat those to me via AIM Member Services if you still have one, but I will get to the ones we already have here. First one I have here is, I know there are FDA approved software for marks. Does one have to use one of those?
I'm not familiar when they say FDA software for marks. There are specific types of barcodes. If you are using GS1 as your issuing agency for your UDI to comply with the UDI mandate, the GS1 general specification defines the types of barcodes which are supported in that general specification, and the most common ones would be the GS1 128 for a 1D code, or the GS1 data matrix. And these are very similar to the, let's say, the non-GS1 versions of those marks, with exceptions being that there's a identifier at the beginning of the mark to indicate that it's a GS1 in terms of the data string when it's decoded, typically an O1 at the beginning of the data string. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but typically it's up to the issuing agencies to define what types of barcodes are acceptable when putting that on a medical device or label for medical device.
Okay, thank you. And as this question is, how prevalent is malicious OS attacks from malware embedded codes?
I have not heard of malware coming through somehow in the barcode. Of course, because OMRON sells quite a bit within the walls of the factory, we look more at what are the vulnerabilities of our automation equipment within the factory to a malware or other attack. And so we, in many cases, have what we would call design for security principles, or our customers have design for security principles. So making sure, as an example, at the core OS level of the controller, that there's strong security as part of that OS to avoid hacks into the hardware. But as far as somehow embedding into the barcode a malware, I've not personally heard of that happening in the medical device arena.
Okay, thank you. And can you speak about the cost effectiveness of using a mobile handheld RFID reader over an RFID cabinet for tracking medical supplies?
Well, similar to whether it's RFID or barcode, there's a few factors there. You have an individual or multiple individuals who have to handle a reader, manually, and the advantage with RFID, you don't have that where you have to point, if you will, like a code reader at the barcode. So yes, you can read multiple tagged items simultaneously, but the RFID cabinet, I think, is intended to be a more touch-free, automated, where if someone, it is, if you have a handheld, a step that can be forgotten. And whereas with the cabinet, it's a little bit more, let's say, working behind the scenes, and a little bit more of an error-proof type situation in that event. And similar with the barcode readers there, we, of course, see a lot of use of handheld readers, but in high volume environments, those fixed mount readers are more often used, packaging lines, especially with high throughput of hundreds of parts per minute or things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. And another question we've received is, can you do brand authentication with RFID, and can you record usage on a one-time use consumable with RFID?
I believe you can. I have not myself come across that, but as I think I gave in one of the earlier examples with the small embedded RFID, you could certainly have that serialized in a way that it would only register as valid if it was within a known serial number range. So a lot of this, whether it's barcode based or RFID based, ties information that is out on a cloud server, for example, with known valid serial numbers, and then does the authentication check through comparing what was read with the RFID reader or the barcode reader with an external database. So there's a few different ways that is managed, and there is no, let's say, standard around that. So there are several or many vendors who have different, let's say, competing technologies. One that I'm familiar with has providing a license to people making a mark, in the case of a laser marker, a direct part mark, and then they are licensed usage of the technology, as well as we'll say a serialized database of alphanumerics or other identifiers that are then tracked. So there's a few different ways that those technologies can enable an anti-counterfeiting strategy. So if the questioner wants to get more details, they could reach out to me directly. My email address is on the screen, and I can send them some information on examples.
Okay, great. And just a couple more questions. Can this person have a UDI compliant label and non-compliant label on the outer box of a product?
If I understand the question right, can you have a secondary label which is non-UDI compliant? And this is, I assume, for medical devices.
Yes.
So yeah, I believe the FDA and I'm not sure if the GS1 defines that, but there is a provision for having secondary labels which are non-compliant with the UDI, but there's a primary label which must have the compliant information. But I think additional labels, my understanding, are allowed.
Okay, great.
I would also recommend, there are some consulting firms and others that focus very much on this the UDI compliance topic. And again, if you needed some links on specific companies that you can reach out to, I can be happy to provide those. So at OMRON, we tend not to state that we are an expert in compliance with the UDI mandate, but we provide tools which help others become compliant or follow the intent of the regulation, specifically around the topic of label inspection.
Okay, great. Well, Felix, thank you for your time and information today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.